Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And how is the new year serving you so well? Are you getting all your goals met? Did you make resolutions? Have you already succeeded at them or failed at them? That's why I don't make resolutions. That's why I make goals. I already talked about that in my last couple videos. Today, but how are you doing? How are you doing? You doing good? Is the new year serving you well? I've actually had a really good, 2025 has started so well for me this year. And, you know, I'm trying to go into 2025 with, number one, a positive attitude. Number two, living in the moment, which was my goal for last year. Number three, living my best life, which is determined and defined by any moment that I am in. So I'm kind of borrowing my goal from last year of living in the moment and then living my best life for whatever that moment is giving me. And then, like, you know, right now, the moment is giving me that I'm filming this video. So I'm going to enjoy making this video in every bit of the way and really take in the meditation I'm about to read. And that's what I'm trying to do. Try to live in the moment and in each moment, live my best life, you know? And, but I've also gone into it with kind of trying to have a different perspective, you know? So much of my life, having been born an addict and alcoholic, I believe I was born that way, but then being an active addict and alcoholic, getting sober, I think myself, like many other addicts and alcoholics, see many things in life as the glass is half empty instead of half full. And so one of my goals for 2025 is to look at things as half full instead of half empty, you know, and be more of an optimist instead of more of a pessimist, and change my perspective on how I look at things. I'm such a believer, you know, it's like the posters that we see, you know, in school when we were little kids. It says, you know, like, life is 90%, or life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% attitude. And I believe that. I really believe that to be true. And so going into 2025, I've really tried to change my perspective and look at things in a different way, you know, and like losing our little dog, Boo Radley, has been so hard. And I've really been focusing on just the gratitude of being able to have, you know, 15 years with that little guy and our other dogs, and just that we had 3 little dogs and, you know, this wonderful family, and just really trying to focus on that and not feel my feelings. I think it's also important to feel your feelings, but also find the gratitude in the moments, you know, and find gratitude in the moments that I'm struggling with, and go, okay, well, what's the gratitude that can come out of it? And I talked about this in my vlog not too long ago. It's that sometimes I don't allow myself to feel the feelings, and I go right over that into gratitude. But now what I'm trying to do is allow myself to feel the feelings authentically, and then my go-to after that is, yes, I'm sad. Yes, this is hard. But I also had 15 years with little Boo Radley, and I'm very grateful for that, you know, and was given 15 amazing years with him. And, you know, we had a family of 3 little dogs, you know, so I'm going into that, and that's kind of how I'm trying to look at things. I'm trying to change my perspective and how I look at things in 2025. I think having, you know, like been raised in, you know, a chaotic environment and being an addict and stuff, I kind of always look at things with fear and trepidation. Fear is one of the things I try to leave behind in 2025, and go into things with hope and optimism, or left behind in 2024. And hope and optimism and positivity is where I'm focused on 2025. So I'm checking myself on a daily basis and asking myself how I'm doing about those things. Okay, so let's get into a meditation today. I brought both books with me, but I'm going to start with The Language of Letting Go. Haven't read over here in a couple days, so let's see what the universe is telling us. January 7th. Let's see what the meditation is for today. Dealing with painful feelings. Oh, this is interesting, since I was just talking about that. Okay. Dealing with painful feelings. Feelings of hurt or anger can be some of the most difficult to face. We can feel so vulnerable, frightened, and powerless when these feelings appear. And these feelings may trigger memories of other similar times when we felt powerless. Sometimes, to gain a sense of control, something else I'm trying to leave behind in 2024, my need to control things, we may punish the people around us, whether they are people we blame for these feelings or innocent bystanders. We may try to get even, or we may manipulate people behind people's backs to gain a sense of power over the situation. Or we may, manipulate behind people's backs to gain a sense of power over the situation. These actions may give us a temporary feeling of satisfaction, but they only postpone facing our pain. Feeling hurt does not have to be so frightening. We do not have to work so hard to avoid it. While hurt feelings aren't as much fun as feeling happy, they are still just feelings. We can surrender to them, feel them, and go on. That does not mean we have to seek out hurt feelings or dwell unnecessarily on them. Emotional pain does not have to devastate us. We can sit still, feel the pain, figure out if there's something we need to do to take care of ourselves, and then go on with our life. We do not have to act in haste. We do not have to punish others to get control over our feelings. We can begin sharing our hurt feelings with others. That brings relief and often healing to them and to us. Eventually, we learn the lesson that real power comes from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable enough to feel hurt. Real power comes from knowing we can take care of ourselves even when we feel emotional pain. Real power comes when we stop holding others responsible for our pain and we take responsibility for all our feelings. Today, I will surrender to my feelings, even the emotionally painful ones. Instead of acting in haste or attempting to punish someone, I will be vulnerable enough to feel my feelings. I think this is a great meditation. As I was reading it, like I always do, I just kind of like go with my gut feelings about things. And I was thinking about, what are like painful feelings for me. I think when I think of painful feelings, like I said, just that sadness or anger is just a feeling. And it is. And I think that's the thing, right? Is like, when people say things like, I'm all up in my feelings, people don't really say, like, I'm all up in my feelings or I'm really emotional when you're feeling happy. Because we don't really see those as emotions that we would be all up in, or I'm really emotional today. Being really emotional really typically means I'm crying over things. It doesn't mean like I'm ecstatic and joyful. If you've said in the past, like I've said in the past, I'm really emotional today, what that typically means is I'm easy to cry today. Like anything will set me off crying, or I'm feeling things deeply today. I think that when I was reading this, I was thinking about two really valuable lessons. Probably the two most valuable lessons I've learned about pain, hurt, and anger. And the first lesson is, and I can remember, I was walking with a friend of mine through a casino 20 years ago, and she had just gone through something really, really painful. And we were talking, and I said to her, she goes, I just don't know what to do with these feelings. And she was like, whatever. And I said, and she said something about life, like life is, and I said, life is bittersweet. And she goes, what do you mean by that? And I said, it's the bitter and the sweet. And without the bitter, we wouldn't know the sweet. Like we wouldn't know. If life were every day successes and congratulatory, amazing happiness, like we would have no, baseline for what that looks like. We would always be at a 10 out of 10. And that's unrealistic. There's gonna be sad times that happen. It's not like we're asking for the sad times or the tragic times to happen, but without them, we don't really have any measuring stick to what like life looks like. We don't have we don't. So in life, there's going to be some lesser times. There's going to be some sadness. There's going to be some tragedy. There's going to be things that are going to make us really, really angry. And I think that it's going into life and not when that happens to us. Obviously, the huge tragedies that happen to us in life, the huge losses, we have a right to be like, what is going on here, I remember years ago I had a friend of mine say, stop asking why and ask what can I learn from this. And I think that that's a valuable lesson. But sometimes in the middle of tragedy, you don't want somebody to shove that in your face and say that to you. I definitely know I don't. But obviously there are moments where we have a right to feel our feelings always. But to feel like there's no sense in this whatsoever. But I also think that I think sometimes it's about looking at like maybe you just don't have a great day today. Well, then compare it to tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow is a really good day in comparison. Maybe nothing tragic happened today. Maybe you weren't sad today. Maybe you weren't angry today. But maybe just, you got up on the wrong side of the bed. You just were a little irritable. But tomorrow you wake up and you feel really good. Note the good days as much as you note the bad days. I think much of my life I focused on the negative instead of the positive. Like I said, this is one of the things I'm changing going into this year. I'm trying to. The other really valuable lesson that I learned, it was years ago that somebody said this to me, and they said that anger is a secondary emotion. And I didn't really understand it when they said it, and they kind of explained it to me like the color wheel, that like red, blue, and yellow are primary colors, and that like red and blue make purple, red and yellow make orange, and so those are secondary colors. And so anger is a secondary emotion, meaning that anger is a combination of other emotions. It's not like anger is not just an initial reaction. And I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I have to say, in my experience, because whenever I get really, really angry, I look at it and I'll be like, my first question is, what's underlying it? And typically, what's underlying my anger is hurt feelings, loss of pride, loss of ego, resentment, feeling that something should have turned out a way that it didn't, or somebody should have stood up for me or said something that they didn't, or somebody should have showed up for me when they didn't. It's usually that's where the anger comes from, okay? And sometimes it's because it's happened repetitively or repeatedly. It's happened multiple times that that person has let me down or a situation has let me down, right? I think the takeaway from that is that that's where you set boundaries, If your anger is to a point because you feel like you've been hurt, because for me, usually anger is a secondary emotion covering up pain where I've been hurt by somebody. If I've been hurt by somebody enough that I'm angry, that's a really big red flag to me that it's boundary set in time. And I need to set a boundary and say, this person, I don't need them in my life anymore because there's too much pain that goes along with it. So for me, when I have angry times come up, I have to look at that and go, what's the underlying feeling for me? Because it's not just anger, I mean, obviously, people are going to have somebody says something that pisses them off. But even in that moment, if somebody pisses you off, why does it piss you off? Is it close to the truth? Does it hurt your feelings? Is it unexpected? Do you feel like they should have had your side? I mean, even if it's just something that you wore an outfit and somebody makes a joke about it, is it like you felt like you looked really nice in that outfit and so it hurts your feelings because you put a lot of time and energy maybe into looking nice and somebody hurt your feelings by making a joke out of it? Because I think then to communicate that to somebody, especially people around us that are important, if we communicate, I'm angry by what you said, that doesn't really fully explain how we feel. But to say, if you say, I'm angry at you because I'm pissed because you made that comment and that comment was shitty, it was uncalled for about what you said about my outfit, okay? That's a completely different statement than if you say to that person, my feelings are hurt. I took a long time getting ready. I thought I looked really nice, and you hurt my feelings by making fun of me. Those are completely two different statements. But you got to ask yourself, what's underlying the initial feeling? So anyway, let me know what you think about those in the comment section below. I thought those two thoughts that I had, I really liked that meditation today. That was good. Let me know how you deal with painful emotions in the comment section below. I love you guys and happy 2025. Bye.